Hello, all you positive heads out there. It's so good to be back with all you beautiful reflections of the one source consciousness that creates and animates all things. If you're new to this podcast, of course, we are super happy to have you here, and we just ask that you bring an open mind and heart to your listening experience and to be prepared to explore vantage points that I'm convinced will help shift or solidify your current understanding of the ultimate nature of reality. While listening, you'll be exposed to inspiring, empowering, and unifying perspectives that I'm highly confident will yield stellar results in your life if you opt to try them on for size. Also, at optimistic.tv, we have officially begun releasing the first few episodes of our new late-night style, consciousness-elevating video variety talk show, Optimistic, which features live visionary art, soul share interviews, retreat guests here at the Mystic Manor, as well as live musical performances. I'm also super excited to announce that we are currently making plans to release the rest of Season 1 on my personal favorite online streaming service. So stay tuned to optimistic.tv to follow the unfolding development of this exciting Optimistic expansion, as we'll be posting more info and release dates there soon. And in the meantime, be sure to check out, of course, the first few episodes at optimistic.tv as well. All right, all you positive heads, welcome, welcome. Here we grow again. It is a magical Monday in the studio as I record, and feeling blessed to be able to connect and co-create with each and every one of you as always. Today I want to talk about your uniqueness. I'm going to talk about this idea of, it can be confusing sometimes because, of course, a lot of talk and understanding and connection to the idea that, hey, we're all one, right? And I talk about this quite often, this idea of divine dichotomy or relative truths, right? You and I are separate. We can certainly make an argument for that and see that is indeed true from a certain perspective. And you and I are one is another more, philosophical perspective that we discuss all the time on the show, and of course look at the implications of that. And if you're viewing yourself as everyone, everywhere you go, you're there waiting for yourself, and everyone is an extension of you, right? Okay, how do you deal with these two apparently contradictory truths, right? And so that can be confusing. And I saw something great from Margaret Mead said, "Always remember that you are absolutely unique, just like everyone else." And that's really, the whole dance with this life is about finding how to walk the line of these, contradictory things that, both have their truths and both serve you in a certain way. And, Osho said it really well. Osho said, nobody is superior, nobody is inferior, but nobody is equal either. People are simply unique, incomparable. You are you, I am I. And when you start to really play with this idea of, I'm one with everyone and everything, you can use that just like, the glass is half empty, glass is half full kind of perspective. Optimist, pessimist, like, there's nothing, I'm one with everything and nothing is sort of special to me from maybe one perspective. And from another, it's like, whoa, I'm one with everything. That thing that I see that I'm really, really inspired by, that's me. As Abraham talks about, I did that. Something you don't like. Well, I did that. And it's all an extension of you in one way, shape, or form. And once you start, really, it's what part of it are you, focusing on? And I always recommend, and one thing I feel like I'm pretty good at and have gotten pretty good at from practice, no other reason other than I've just practiced it a lot, is focusing on the part of the story or the truth that really serves me. And so when you start saying, okay, I am certainly one and connected with all things, but I'm also a unique emanation of that oneness, and I'm incomparable, and I have a gift, and I have a path, and I have a purpose that is completely unique to me. I may be one with everything. It may all be an extension. And there's some part of, just like your body, you can say, oh, it's all one, but your hand isn't trying to do the same exact thing that your heart is trying to do, or your brain, or your eyeball, right? So you represent a part of this infinite source being, and you have a unique role within that. Emma Stone said, what sets you apart can sometimes feel like a burden, and it's not. And a lot of the time, it's what makes you great. And so, really focusing on this, a lot of times people can feel like, I'm an outcast and I don't feel okay. Now, sometimes people are feeling their uniqueness so much in a way that's not a good focus, right? Oh, I'm so different. No one understands me. And always, 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 if you are someone who's felt that, and we've all felt that to varying degrees, some people feel it really intensely, and it really kind of devastates and depresses them. And what's happened with every great songwriter, artist, you name it, anyone who's ever went on to do something really great, almost always, at least from the stories I've heard, have some part of their journey where they felt really ostracized. They felt like they just didn't fit in. And that's actually, or this felt like a handicap. And it's that thing that is a handicap is what can ultimately make you great when you learn how to turn that thing into its fullest potential, right? We all have these latent potentials in us. The Gene Keys actually talk a lot about this with, the different I forget what they call them in the Gene Keys, but if you get the book, you'll see, going blank on it. But basically in your genetic code, there's the baseline of the potentiality. There's, if it gets, kind of goes the negative route, it becomes issue or problem. Here's how it manifests. And if you fully realize it and unlock the potential in your genetic code, here's what it becomes like. So you take these things that can seem like a burden, there's a gift, there's a diamond there for you. So remembering that you're unique. Yes, you are one with everything. Focus on that when it serves you. Focus on your uniqueness when it serves you. You are on the same playing field with everyone from a certain perspective. As Osho said, nobody is superior. Nobody is inferior either. And a lot of you listening have had that moment of feeling inferior or comparison, or I could never do that, and all that stuff that just doesn't serve you. You're not supposed to be running the race just like the person next to you. We're all on our own unique trajectory back to source. So think about it. We're all from the same one egg we hatch out. We then find our own unique paths, unlike any other path back to source. And yours may be winding and turning and seem to be treacherous and more adversaries and harsher than maybe someone next to you, but you really don't even know that person's full story. You may be able to track some of their story in this life, but what about beyond that? Maybe they've had 100 lifetimes and you're on your 10th, right? And you're like, why is it so easy for them? They just already went through it, perhaps. Or maybe they just took a different path. But one thing that's for sure is the greater you toil for your freedom, the greater the sense of freedom that you attain and receive them. What you put out, you're going to get back. So if there's a challenge, challenges are blessings, right? Before we continue on with today's episode, I'd like to take a quick moment to tell you about our new sponsor, NOOM. I agreed to do this promo spot because I am super impressed with the futuristic and simple process that NOOM has implemented to revolutionize diet and wellness. NOOM is the unique, habit-changing solution that helps users learn to develop a new relationship with food. And it's not a diet. No food is good or bad. As we talk about on the show all the time, it's all about proper balance and having good habits. And NOOM just teaches you how to look inside your own mind and make better decisions for yourself. Sounds familiar, right? It's based in psychology, so I'm personally really excited about starting to use it to understand my own thought patterns better. And they make it super easy to do with a minimal commitment of only 10 minutes a day, which is essential for someone like me with so much on my plate. No pun intended. So if you'd like to take the journey with me and sign up for a trial, head over to noom.com/positivehead to start your trial today. That's spelled NOOM.com/positivehead. I mean, what do you have to lose except outdated habits and perhaps a few extra pounds by signing up for the trial? Once again, NOOM.com/positivehead. Moliere said, the greater the obstacle, the more glory in overcoming it. So anytime you're saying, wow, why did I, why is all this happening to me? Well, you're happening to yourself, and you didn't necessarily sign up for the easiest, I think of video games, how when you play a game and then you beat it. I remember back to a kid when I played a lot of games, beat it, and then it's like, okay, that's easy now. I need to set it on hard. I want it to be more challenging. But then the reward that comes after going through a more challenging path is greater, right? And that's all that's going on here. This life is a game. And if you're not liking what's happening, if you're going through hell, keep going, right? It's this too shall pass. And if you can just, all that matters is how gracefully you're walking through the fire, right? As I believe Bukowski said. So how graceful are you walking through the fire? What story are you telling about your uniqueness? Is it one that serves you? Is it one that doesn't serve you? Are you saying, there's nothing special about you? Where are you focused? So I want to share a little clip here from Abraham, who talks about your connection to inner being that is unique. And she actually, Esther here shares a little bit about when she opened up to channeling and what it means to be a collective spirit and all these ideas that can get a little confusing, right? These ideas that, hold on, it's all one on the other side. Oh, hold on, we have these soul groups, these soul families, but hold on, I'm separate. But, once again, what vantage point are we speaking from? All is true. And this is a great clip, and I'll be right back after.
I have two questions. The first one is, I'm trying to understand a little more about my eternal nature and inner being. And it was a couple months back, the CD of the month talked about that my inner being is a community. And I'm trying to understand that a little bit more. It's not, like, I feel singular, but apparently my inner being isn't. And also, on top of that, if it is a community, does it overlap with other people's inner being communities? And how does that work together?
It is not easy to see what is non-physical from a physical format, because you're right, you're accustomed to seeing things. You see yourselves as individual clumps sitting on your chairs, and you're not exactly morphing together, at least you don't want to. It would be interesting if you walked off with a piece of someone else attached to you as a result of this. And yet, it's interesting as we watch you, as you come together like this, even though you are individual energies, especially as a day moves on a little bit, there is a sort of coming together as your thoughts begin to mesh, and the thought that we are upon morphs into that which is more. Let's give you the picture that we've been talking about so that you can really feel a strong basis here. So you get that you're source energy, and you understand that part of you comes forth. Now, do you understand that the larger part of you remains non-physically focused? In other words, a part of the consciousness that is you is here. So here you are with this part of consciousness, and you are expanding, and when you do, that larger part that is you becomes more. In other words, as we visit with you here, we are not a singular consciousness, we are a collective consciousness, and the collective consciousness that is Abraham is what it is depending upon what you are asking about. In other words, it's not like there's this static knowledge or information that is now trying to project an idea to you. It's that what you are living and what you are asking is the summoning point of that which we are. When Jerry and Esther first began this work, or even before they met us in the form that they know us, Jerry had been reading the Seth material. And Esther really was sort of put off by it. She was afraid of it, really. And so she did not participate with Jerry for quite some time. He read the books. Esther said, don't bring them into the bedroom. They sort of spooked her. There was a picture on the back of one of them that made Esther uncomfortable. And so Jerry just silently read the books, and occasionally he would talk to Esther about something that he had read. And as he would speak what he had read, Esther began to feel some resonance with it until before long Esther was actually asking to read with Jerry. And so every day they sat and read the Seth material. Well, not too long after that, a friend of theirs brought them a recording and said, would you like to hear this? And Jerry said, well, what is it? Because people were putting tape recordings in his hands often, and he rarely listened to any of them. And this person said, well, it's channeled. Well, Jerry had never heard the word channeled. He didn't know what it meant. And it was not a familiar word from the Seth material, but he played it. And what he heard was something that seemed akin to what he was hearing from or reading from Seth, different, but similar in some ways. And so their friend said, this is a woman, she is coming to Phoenix this week, and you can make an appointment with her if you want and ask her any questions that you have. And so Jerry was eager to go. Esther was reluctant to go. They went and had a wonderful conversation where Jerry brought questions that he'd saved up for a very long time, and Esther sat silent and rather amazed as Theo answered Jerry's questions. And then Esther said, can we come back tomorrow? Because now Esther had questions. So they went back the next day, and Esther asked some questions. Jerry asked more questions. But the result of that was Esther had a sort of transforming experience where she completely lost her fear of whatever she had thought that that was. She did not know how to quantify Theo. They did not know how to quantify Seth. They only knew from the experiences that they had had what it felt like. But at the end, the recorder clicked off, and it was time for the half-hour segment to end. And now Esther is feeling a little frustration because she has more questions and her time is up. And another woman who was operating the tape recorder in the room said, well, would you like to ask one more question? Do you want to know who your spiritual guide is? And Esther, who had never thought of that terminology ever, liked the sound of it, and she said, yes, who is my spiritual guide? And Theo said, we are told, now, here's a woman lying on a bed. Esther is thinking, she remembered Seth saying, give us a moment. We are told that it will be given to you directly. You will have a clairaudient experience, and you will know. Esther asked what they could do to more effectively achieve goals, and Theo said, meditate, and that felt weird to them. And Esther said, what do you mean? And Theo said, sit in a quiet room and wear comfortable clothing and focus on your breathing, and when your mind wanders, and it will, release the thought and focus on your breathing. And then Esther said, should we bring our daughter Tracy to see you? And Theo said, if it is her wanting or her asking, but it is not necessary, for you too are channels. Well, Esther thought, how can something like that be and me not know it? It wasn't that she doubted it, she just didn't know it. And so they went home, and they had two intentions in mind. Esther was going to find out who her spiritual guide was, whoever that was and whatever that meant, and she was going to meditate, whatever that meant, weird as it was. And Theo had encouraged them to do it together, to sit in a quiet, comfortable spot and do it together. And so they went home, they closed the curtains in the living room, they put on their bathrobes, they sat in two wingback chairs with an etagere between them because it just felt weird, and set a timer, and Esther focused upon her breathing. And as she relaxed into the counting of her breathing, she felt a detachment that was delicious. Just in releasing thought, she attuned to this vibration, to this very high frequency vibration. Now what it was, Esther had released her resistance enough to allow the fullness that is us to move through her. She was not a vibrational match to us, but her resistance was enough absent that she tuned to the vibration of that which is her spiritual guide. Now some would say, did she tap into God? Did she tap into Theo? Did she tap into Seth? What was Esther tapping into? And we say she was tapping into the vibrational escrow that had been set forth for her, the vibrational escrow that she launched before her birth, the vibrational escrow that all of that which she had been living had amassed. In other words, whatever you want to call it, she tapped in to the source energy part that is her. So then, as they began moving along, Jerry was so excited because he had so many questions, and he would prop Esther up in bed. At that time, she was sort of spelling letters with her nose in the air. and ask his questions. They seemed endless to Esther. He would wake her up even in the middle of the night to ask a question. And so once Jerry began dialoguing with us, which was all day, every day, just about. He just could not get enough conversation from us. One day, he got out his Seth books where he had written question after question after question in the margins. It had always been so interesting to him how there would be in the middle of a dialogue, and then it would be the end of the dialogue in the Seth book. And then Seth would say to Rob, is there something more? And Rob would say, no thank you, Seth. And Jerry would say, what? How can you be at the end of your questions? Because just this little bit of dialogue had piqued so many more questions within Jerry. And so now Jerry is visiting with us, and he says to us, I have these questions I would like to ask. And we said to him, address your questions as if you are addressing them to Seth, because the consciousness is here. We said, Seth and Abraham are chips off the same block, so to speak. Now, what that meant was the basis of that which they are both about, which is helping you to understand who you are, was similar vibration. And yet the work that Abraham has become through Esther and the work that Seth became through Jane, very different work. You see what we're getting at? It's not non-physical energy with something that they're wanting to project. It's a point of asking that makes the uniqueness of what is coming forth.
Yeah.
So early on, Esther said, well, then I guess I'm speaking for Seth. And we said to her, let what you are doing be uniquely what you are doing. Do not express yourself as Theo or as Seth. Express yourself as that which is uniquely you. In other words, be a vibrational match. Get yourself into alignment. Don't try to make something happen. Get yourself into alignment and let that alignment be the vortex through which the answers come forth. And so whether you want to call your inner being God or whether you want to call your inner being my inner being, it does not matter what label you give it. Just understand what it is and understand that it is uniquely yours, you see. And as you tap into it, the phraseology, the terminology will expand through the context that is you. Jerry and Esther have been hearing some bits and pieces. There are a lot of people around the planet today that are calling them and letting them know that they are now channeling Abraham, that it is the same Abraham that Esther is channeling. And as Jerry and Esther listen to some of the recordings, they remember the excitement of those beginning days, but they are amused as they are listening to the phraseology that has been Esther's interpretation of the blocks of thought being crammed into these, all of the buzzwords, all of the things that Esther has uniquely found are now suddenly turning up everywhere, hundreds of them in an hour segment, but the vibration of them doesn't have the resonance that they are accustomed to feeling. And so what we are wanting to say is, rather than trying to label it and make it be something, tune into it and flow with what it is. Let it flow from you or through you in response to what you are asking. So people have been asking us from the moment that we have been allowed through Esther's vortex to speak. They have been asking, do we all have access to this? And we say, without exception, you have access to this stream of consciousness that is source, and what you summon through the power and uniqueness of your vortex will not be Seth, it will not be Theo, it will not be God, so to speak. It will not be Abraham. It will be the culmination of that which all that you have lived has put into your vibrational escrow. So not easy to quantify that or label it, is it? When we say you are an extension of that which is source, we're not kidding you one bit. And when we say your life will cause you to queue up your questions, and the source within you, provided you find vibrational alignment with it, will flow through you in your unique way.
So really interesting to think about, like what she often says, this larger part of you is actually non-physically focused. So much more of you is non-physical than the part that's physical. And, you know, realizing, I love how she breaks it down. It's like, look, we're all part of the same thing. your connection is uniquely you. When you tap into this, source, higher self, these I see them as nested dolls, right? People talk about your oversoul is what's the next thing up. And that can even be, I had a guest, I forget who it was recently, talking about, there can be like, thousands of people in your oversoul. And then from there, that's connected to a bigger oversoul, connected to a bigger oversoul. So it's like nested dolls in a sense, but your connection all the way back to source is the thing that's unique. She talked here about her journey, becoming one of the biggest channels. And she talked about Sheila, Gillette, and Theo. And I actually had Theo on an episode a while back. So if you guys want to go check out that episode 229, looking it up here. And, basically what she's saying is like, look, Theo, Seth, Abraham, all these like non-physical entities supposedly they're just the same thing. You are the unique extension of source. Your vibrational escrow is unique. Whenever you connect to the collective, it's still going to be uniquely you. And that to me is a really good thing, because that unique aspect of who and what we are feels really good, right? If we all sounded the same, looked the same, dressed the same, it would be awfully dull. And by the way, when you're ever passing judgment catch yourself slipping into that just pitfall that we've all slipped into. Remember, this person that I'm now in this moment judging, like, why do they think that looks good? Or how could you like that music? Or whatever it is. If everyone was just like you, wouldn't it be awfully boring? Aren't we glad that and aren't appreciative of these differences that help us to define that thing that we're really not a fan of? Well, thank goodness for it, because it allows us to define, gives us the contrast to define who and what we are. All right, everyone. This has been another adventure of me and an adventure of you, and I have enjoyed it. I hope you have too. I have a track for you called The Adventure of Me by Rob Ricardo, who's actually a musical guest on forthcoming Optimistic episode. Still news about that being released on a bigger platform. It's taken a little longer than we thought, but you know what? Everything in divine timing. You'll be hearing about that soonish. In the meantime, enjoy this track from Rob Ricardo, Adventure of Me. Till next time, journey well. Love you so, so much. And if you're feeling the call to come for a week retreat style Mystic Manor immersion, remember to go now and book your time to speak with me directly about stepping into the optimistic vortex at calendly.com/talkwithbrandon while there are still spots left. Otherwise, I look forward to co-creating magic with you at the Mystic Manor.
I'm not gonna lie, some days I miss the tide, the scent of a saltwater breeze coming over me. But I have no doubt that where I am right now is right where I'm supposed to be. This is the journey of the soul, it's the adventure of me. No matter what I'm told, I know that I am free to roam my own way, to float in my own sea, to chase my own dreams on this adventure of me. traded hurricanes for monsoonal rains, and I love that I have no idea what's next. It could be northern lights or Rocky Mountain highs. I've learned to be open to anything. This is the journey of the soul, it's the adventure of me. No matter what I'm told, I know that I am free to roam my own way, to float in my own sea, and chase my own dreams on this adventure of me. Searching for? Are you looking for the sycamore? What are you searching for? Are you looking for the sycamore? What are you searching for? Are you looking for the sycamore? Sycamore, looking for the sycamore. This is the journey of the soul, it's the adventure of me. No matter what I'm told, I know that I am free to roam my own way, to float in my own sea, to chase my own dreams on this adventure of me.